Hi, in this first part of the video series on getting WordPress installed on your local workstation, we're going to start with the basics, XAMPP. That's the environment we're going to be working in order to have WordPress work on our local workstation. Now, XAMPP is nothing but a collection of software and contains the three essential components to get WordPress up and running. The three components you need to get WordPress working is a web server, a PHP support, and of course some form of database system. XAMPP provides all these. It provides the Apache server. It has support for PHP programming language and outputs the code after it processes it. And of course we have MySQL installed as well with this package. So with those three, we have the foundation of a good WordPress installation. There are additional extras installed with XAMPP, which we'll also be using to perform our WordPress installation. Part 1 is only going to focus on XAMPP. The next video will show you how to proceed and install WordPress. Your first order of business is to go to the download page for XAMPP. It can be found at apachefriends.org/download.html. That's apachefriends.org/download.html. If for whatever reason this file is no longer available at this address, just do a search in Google for XAMPP, that's XAMPP and download, and I'm sure it'll turn up some results that are reliable. I'm going to proceed to download the installer file. Make sure you're using the proper version for your operating system. If you're currently using Mac OS, make sure you choose the right one. Same thing with Linux. I'm going to go with Windows because that's what my workstation is currently running. You'll notice that there are two versions here, PHP 5.4, 5.5. For the purposes of this video, it really doesn't matter. WordPress is compatible with both of them, so I'll just go with the newer one and just get that going. Once you click the download button and the software finishes downloading, you should have a copy of the installer saved somewhere, either in your downloads folder or here on your desktop as I chose to put it. The next step is to double click to launch the installer. You'll probably get some user account control window. Click yes. The download will, the installation will begin. You might get a warning for an antivirus. This may slow down or interfere with the software installation. It's okay. We'll just click yes. Should be fine. Activated user account warning. Install XAMPP. Okay. And just click next. So you're shown here a series of items that are available for installation on your workstation. Not everything here is necessary to get WordPress up and running. I mean, you could just click next and just proceed. It won't do any harm to your computer. However, I don't like installing things that really aren't necessary for the task I'm trying to perform. As I mentioned, Apache, that's mandatory. You absolutely need that. MySQL, that's your database system, yes. An FTP server, I'll turn that off, I don't really need it. A mail server, not going to have it on my workstation. Tomcat is another server add-on which we won't be using. PHP, as you can see, again, grayed out because it's mandatory. Perl really isn't, and it won't be used much by WordPress, so I'm going to turn that off as well. And you also have phpMyAdmin, which is definitely going to be useful. Webalizer is a stats program if you want to do analysis and stuff, but not really necessary. And fake sendmail, which you may want to leave on in case you want to test some applications like form submissions and that kind of thing. So I'm going to click next. Select a folder to install it to. Just go with the default for now. this message is letting you know that there are some add-ons that you can add to XAMPP to make installing WordPress and a variety of other CMS applications a lot easier, like one-click install. I'll talk about that maybe later. In the meantime, we're just going to go with the old-fashioned way of doing things for the purposes of this exercise, just because it's good to know. Click Next. As you can see, I kind of fast-forwarded a bit during the installation procedure for the purposes of saving some time. It's just finalizing the installation now. And we're done. So setup is finished. Installing XAMPP on your computer. Do you want to start the control panel now? Let's leave that checked on and click Finish. And once we do that, it'll fire up the control panel, which looks like this. So over here, we're looking at a variety of services that are available. We have the Apache web server, MySQL, FileZilla, because it's not installed, is inactive, as are Mercury and Tomcat. So what we want to do is start the Apache server. You might get a Windows firewall message if you're on a Windows machine. We want to allow access for that. Now you'll notice it turns green. That means it's up and running. And we also want to fire up MySQL, so we have some database action on the computer. Once again, we'll be presented with a little firewall, and we want to allow access to that. And there we go. And you should be up and running. A very quick way to test this is by opening a browser window and typing localhost. And bingo, there it is. Localhost is where where the web server is pointing to your files locally. This is the default screen. We want to choose our language. Of course, I'm going to be choosing English. And this is the XAMPP for Windows main installation screen. So congratulations, we have successfully installed XAMPP on this system. Now you'll notice on the left here a menu that has a variety of tools. We won't be looking at all of them in this tutorial, but there are a couple we want to start with. Of course, status will provide us with a summary of what's going on. Our MySQL database is activated, PHP is running, our secure server is activated on our local machine, and our server supports server-side includes, which can be quite handy. CGI interface, which processes scripts, is deactivated. We won't be needing it. PHP info will give you a summary of your PHP version, as well as a series of other parameters and little configuration items in PHP. It's good to refer to this if you ever have any weird messages and some files need to be changed. You can verify the configuration here with PHP info. And of course down here we're going to be looking at some tools, primarily PHP MyAdmin. Now PHP MyAdmin is basically a front end that allows you to manage databases. Now, normally you would use server query language at a command prompt to type all sorts of SQL commands. It can get a little tedious if you're not that experienced. It can be a little intimidating. Thankfully, PHP MyAdmin provides you with a front end that kind of keeps things in perspective while you get up to speed and learn. On the left here are a series of databases, and we can explore all the different tables in them, but I'll be going to phpMyAdmin in another tutorial following this. You just want to make sure everything is up and running with the server first. So localhost provides us with a local working server. Now remember where you installed your files. So one thing we'll probably want to look at is our XAMPP installation folder, as it's quite important. I ended up installing it to my C drive in its own folder called XAMPP. And if we click here to view the contents of this folder, we'll see quite a few files in there. Now, don't be too intimidated. We only need to focus on a couple of these. This is basically all the software required to make XAMPP run. Here's your Apache installation. We have your PHP processor over here, and all sorts of other add-ons and files that make all this work. The folder that's probably going to be the one we visit the most is this one here called htdocs. htdocs is where our websites will live. So if I double click in there, I'll notice a whole bunch of files and folders. And one way to think about this is localhost is your htdocs folder, and whatever other folders you have in there will show in your web browser. So in this example we have XAMPP, and here are all the files that are making XAMPP work. If I were to create a new folder in here called my_website with nothing in it, if I go here to localhost and type my_website, I'll get the directory listing for this folder. If I create a new text document in here and just name it index.html, if I reload this page, I'll get a blank page. Why? Because by default, my web server, like most web servers, will load index.html by default. So as you can see, what's happening here in my C drive, XAMPP folder, htdocs, my website, is where my website will live. All the files, all the images, everything stays in there. The next step in this process is to set up a database using phpMyAdmin. The reason why I want to do that is because when I'm going to install WordPress and I'm asked for the database to create the connection, I already have everything set up and running. So tune into part 2 in this series so we can walk through the database creation process. Thanks for tuning in.